It's Wednesday, March 11th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, Urasawa's Pluto.
Let's do this.
So I'm walking back to work from Bryant Park, just outside, taking a long lunch, enjoying myself, taking a break, and I suddenly hear a noise so distinct and so full of memories from earlier in my life that I had to stop. Now, there was no Tribes 2 turret coming out of the ground to get me. But what happened, I'm walking and I hear this sound and I had to stop. I stopped dead in my tracks because I knew at that moment that an angel was descending to destroy the earth. You know that industrial from Ava that they play in like every episode? It's that periodic like tamping. It's like this generic industrial noise. But Ava had a very specific one. And I heard that exact noise. And I'm like, all right. And I look around because maybe I'll find out what that sound was, like what Foley they did or what they recorded. And
Someone was watching Ava on a laptop with a little speaker.
It looks like they had guys hammering something into an I-beam about 10 stories up on the skyscraper I was walking by.
All right.
So I heard the Ava noise. That's I don't know. That's the most relevant anime-related anecdote I've got.
I don't even know what noise you're talking about.
You really don't?
I mean, maybe if it was cicadas, I'd be like, ah.
No, it wasn't the cicadas. It was like the generic banging industrial noise from Ava.
Mm-hmm.
They use it. It seems like they use that noise a lot more later in the series.
The thing is, right, whenever I watch like an anime and they have the cicada noise, I'm like, okay. But like when my grandma lived in Queens, if I would like sleep over there in the summer, I would hear the cicadas in the morning. They didn't sound like that at all. So I don't know if it's
Japanese cicadas sound different.
That's what I was going to say. It's probably a different kind.
In fact, the cicadas where I grew up don't sound like the cicadas here.
Really?
I mean, maybe it wasn't cicadas, but...
Yeah, I don't know if there's any right here. And I know there's some in Queens.
Yeah, I haven't really heard them in Beacon that much now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I guess the room of Gauth is empty.
Instead, here I hear thought birds.
If you ever climb Breakneck Ridge, there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, thought bird, what you gonna do?
All right, so it's anime day, manga day, comic day, news day.
There's some good news going down.
Good as in interesting or good as in actually good? Because the anime industry has not been, shall we say, replete with good news.
This is pretty good news for if you're smart. This is excellent news. You ready? I don't know if you're going to be able to handle this news.
Well, it can't be that Sanctuary, Eagle, and every manga I've ever liked is being re-released and I'm getting a copy for free.
But close.
Oh?
Yes. Pokemon is originally...
snap! I'm going to get to read about Red again and Yellow.
So Pokemon was originally a Game Boy game. That was the first Pokemon thing ever, right? Because there's a lot of Pokemon stuff. There's an anime, there's toys, there's video games, right?
Yep.
The Game Boy games, Red and Blue or Red and Green or whatever, were the original. That was the first Pokemon thing there ever was.
Now, what's scary is that that was both a long time ago and at the same time, not that long ago.
I know, right?
What's even weirder
is I was already sort of too old for Pokemon when it appeared, and yet it's still around.
Well, the other thing that amazes me is that if you ask people how long they've been fans of Pokemon, especially people in our age group, people feel like it's hard to remember when Pokemon appeared. You feel as though it's always been there.
Well, I mean, think about it, right? There have been all these sort of they're always fads for kids, right? We're all into, micro machines, right? Micro machines are gone now.
Yep, or
we're into
Centurions.
He-Mans are gone. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and things like that. Transformers are only for nerds. Regular kids don't like those anymore so much, right? But Barbie and Hot Wheels are sort of the always there since the 50s or even earlier than that, right?
I think Pokemon's going to be that.
Wasn't Barbie's anniversary just somewhat recently? Right?
Yeah.
But Pokemon has sort of beat them all. It's Barbie, Hot Wheels, and Pokemon, I think, is the other one that's just going to last forever.
I mean, I remember...
infinity. Your great-great-grandchildren will still have Barbie, Hot Wheels, and Pokemon. They won't, then maybe Sesame Street also, but everything else, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, I guess Lego, but Lego is not really...
That's different.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
It's real easy to hold 10 Lego.
But anyway.
All right.
Okay,
So we're going to get to read about Red and Yellow. And...
So, yes, the original Pokemon was the Game Boy game. However, there was a Pokemon manga. Well, actually, there were many Pokemon mangas, but there was one Pokemon manga in particular. It was called Pocket Monster Special in Japan, but in the United States, it's Pokemon Adventures. Now, Pokemon Adventures was released in English a long time ago by Viz, and it was sort of like in these comic book-sized books, but they had cardboard covers as opposed to sort of flimsy covers, and they were flat-bound as opposed to staple-bound.
Well, Luke had him back at RIT.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I was able to read them, was that he owned all of these things.
There were a whole bunch of them, and it was a little bit expensive to get them. They really felt like kids' coloring books more than like manga. But you could get them, and they're hard to get now, that particular format, but this manga was released in English. Viz is, in like 2 or 3 months, is going to re-release this manga under the Viz Kids line in sort of the normal format. So, and it's going to be like $7 cover price for a volume.
This is some serious business.
So I'm going to pay like $5.
Because, I mean, if you know about Ash Ketchum and the Pokemon rap.
What are you talking about?
The Team Rocket.
That's not Pokemon.
Blast away again. That is like this bastard child of Pokemon.
I want to read you a quote. This is a quote from Satoshi Tajiri, who is the original creator of all Pokemon, right? And he says about this is what he has to say about this manga. Quote, "This is the comic that most resembles the world I was trying to convey." End quote.
Now, it's actually a pretty good, I mean, it's a kid's manga, but it's good. It's
even if you don't like Pokemon, you don't care about Pokemon at all, you think it's kids crap, whatever, that doesn't matter. This manga, this is the serious business. This is the real deal. This is not, about catching them all right? This is not about cutesy monsters and battles of powering up and shit.
Granted, it's still not Shadow Star.
No, it's not Shadow Star either. But, I mean, look, there's stuff that happens in this manga. I mean, there was a scene where someone's hand got chopped off by a dangerous Pokemon. That was. I think that was the most hardcore moment in the whole thing. But ignore all those other Pokemon things, like Mystery Dungeon manga, fuck that shit. Diamond and Pearl manga, fuck that shit, right? Pokemon Adventures, when this hits, you got to pick that up. And it's mad cheap. So you have no excuse.
It's just, Ash is such a pale imitation of Red. And then I'm not going to spoil this, but they pull a big change up when you're reading this, and stuff happens that you might not have expected.
Yeah, I mean, it nominally is the same story as the original Pokemon, game, Pokemon Red, the very, very original one. It's nominally that story, but it's also not that story. So don't think that you already know everything that's going to go down, because you do not.
But moving right along, as you all know, we're going to be attending Anime Boston for the first time this year, May 22nd through 24th, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. We're going to be there doing a bunch of panels, being guests, hanging out. We'll be around. I'll be hanging out in bars in Boston the whole weekend. So if you want to see us, come to Anime Boston. It's a good con. It'll be our first time there. But they just announced the musical guest of Anime Boston. And this is the kind of thing where, had we not been going to Anime Boston in a Geeknights capacity, I might have been tempted to just go. The musical guest is going to be Calafina and Yuki Kajiura. If you don't know who that is, Noir, Dot Hack Sign, the music to those anime.
Basically all the terrible animes with amazing music.
Yeah, so if you want to hear amazing music without having to deal with the terrible anime that they were
does actually be performance?
With,
it's not just an appearance?
Actually, let me read this whole article because I got home kind of late. But yeah, the singing trio is going to be there and the composer.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, that could be pretty hot, right there.
Especially since I didn't get to go to the concert at Otakon because we were doing a panel during it.
Well, we went to one of the concerts, but not the other one.
Yeah, but we went to the concert at Otakon. Lark way back, so I guess it's all good.
Yeah, we went to a bunch of those concerts.
Yeah, but nothing's really topped Lark yet.
No, we missed those Eurobeat girls. In 2002.
Oh my God.
7 years ago.
We've been 7 years. Okay.
Okay.
But that aside, I just want to point out, this is kind of a mini news, but it looks like, I don't know what's going on Cartoon Network, but Naruto, looks like they're dropping it as far as I can tell.
Didn't they drop Toonami?
It looks like things are really changing up, and it looks like anime is getting shorter and shorter of a shrift.
Well, I mean, Naruto you can watch for free on the internets legitimately at all these places, the day after it's out in Japan.
Yep, and
So-
subtitled no less.
Yeah, so I don't know why Cartoon Network would even bother to continue to show it. I mean, really, they should only put Naruto on the kids' afternoon cartoon pro.
Yes,
oh,
but no,
wait,
they-
everyone eliminated the kids got home from school afternoon cartoon block.
Yeah, and now instead they keep
We
trying
don't
to
even
put
have
shows
Saturday
like
morning or Sunday morning cartoons anymore.
they keep trying to put shows like this on like Adult Swim, where anyone who's going to be watching Adult Swim is just going to go online anyway.
Yeah, I think what really happened to Adult Swim is that you sort of had this competition between bringing awesome shows, from around the world to people, regardless of who made them, with the simultaneous Cartoon Network's own productions sort of having to compete with that. And they had to sort of pick, are they going to go with these animes? Or are they going to go with, the stuff they make? And they decided to go with the stuff they make rather than,
Yeah.
like the robot chickens and that sort of stuff.
For a lot of reasons. And I don't want to get into it, but it's interesting how this fight is, it's all just kind of falling apart. I think anime,
Really, I think what they've done, right, between Nickelodeon being basically like nothing, right?
remember when Nickelodeon used to be awesome?
Well, I think Nickelodeon had sort of the same problem MTV did, in which it just completely lost its identity, right? MTV used to be music videos. Now it's like game shows all day, isn't it? I think.
Game shows and
what I hear.
reality shows.
That's what I hear, right? So Nickelodeon was originally like, awesome, just like kids crazy shit all day. And then
remember.
Then they had the Nicktoons.
Remember.
They had the Nicktoons and they were rocking the house.
You can't do that on television.
Well, that actually Nickelodeon, I don't think. I think that was originally a Canadian show.
But they got it. And
Yeah,
they
it's
put it
true.
on. And that's what. That's
But I
the
mean,
same
no,
thing
but
as
it's but
anime.
Nickelodeon also made lots of good stuff
Yes.
too, like Clarissa Explains It All, and Snick was all right. Remember that?
I remember that.
And all the Nicktoons, the Ren and Stimpies, and all that stuff, and Doug and Rugrats.
Of course,
they made all those.
we definitely have to clarify the old Nickelodeon Ren and Stimpy, because as we learned
well, stuff
later,
like Rocco's Modern Life, which is still good.
it's still good. It wasn't a great show, but it had its moments.
It had a lot of moments.
Yeah, well, because you turn
turn
the page, and then you wash your hands,
You
and then you turn the page,
and you wash your hands. Yeah. No, but it's like these networks lost their identities, and Cartoon Network also seems to be losing its identity. Right? It used to be about cartoons all day long, and now I heard that they were showed this like a live action Spider-Man movie instead of Toonami when Toonami was over. It's like, whoa, really? And now they have like Boomerang. It's like that's all these networks are doing. Like MTV made MTV2 where they put the music videos,
yeah,
right?
But then
and
watch,
Nickelodeon
MTV2 is going to start having the reality shows.
then Nickelodeon makes like another channel to put the cartoons on. And then, Disney Channel makes another channel where they stick all the cartoons. And Cartoon Network makes Boomerang where they put all the cartoons. It's like, yeah, we lost our identity on our main network. Let's make another network where we put the stuff that the original network was supposed to be, And it's like, I really think that there's room now for someone to come out with a new TV network that actually has good kids programming, and you sort of follow the same Nickelodeon formula, right? Of you need to have like two good shows like at like 6 a.m. before the kids go to school, right? You can watch them while you eat breakfast. Then you show shows for preschoolers like all day, right? And the kids who's set to stay home from school watch it anyway.
Yep. Then you got the 2-hour block right when
Then
the kids get home.
No, you need the 4-hour block when you get home before dinner. Right?
Well, remember, demographic-wise, I mean, look, usually there's the staggered thing where elementary school kids get home first,
yeah, it's
then
true.
middle school. So you start with the show. Like, remember Cartoon Network? Like, you'd start with Sailor Moon.
Well, they started,
and then the
they started with like
Dragon Ball.
Thundar, and then they went into Sailor Moon, and then they went into Voltron, and then and then it was like by 4 o'clock you were in Batman. But then like from 5 to something, right? When people are eating dinner, you show Looney Tunes. That way, it's like Looney Tunes stops, you eat dinner, you come back, another one started. You're somewhere in there, right?
And then Nick at Night. Nick at Night was a brilliant idea. I don't know if they still do it. Do they still show
It has
like,
its own network, I think. Again.
but that doesn't work.
No shit.
I don't know. There's something wrong if you're watching Dragnet and the sun is still up.
I know, right?
That is a show for 4 a.m.
But what I would do is I would probably put like the old cartoons on all night, or I would just put like the hardcore shit on all night,
Or both.
Like, I mean, Mazinger and shit.
Late at night, yeah, have
A Fist of the North Star busting off heads.
have the original Astro Boy, and then like Mazinger, and then like I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be like Going to Guy would be all night long. That would be my network. Maybe we should do that. Be like, what would be on your schedule your TV network. You can choose any show that has ever existed, any from all the shows in the history of television in any country in the world that have ever existed. Schedule, your programming day.
Let's make a game about it. I'll make a thread in the forum, and we'll pick a winner next Wednesday.
All right.
You're not winning a prize. I've given up on that.
Actually, we had to do here. You have to invent like a whole TV network, give it a name. You have to do the whole thing.
Yep, we'll put
Maybe
the details.
even have to do the whole week. Why not the whole, or I guess weekday, Saturday, and Sunday. You need 3 schedule.
Yep, we'll put the details in the forum. Check it out. So, things of the day. I'm trying to avoid doing an anime thing because I feel like I got to break from the routine and have stuff that's cross interest on the things of the day, so there's always something for you. Otherwise,
Translation: I could not find a thing of the day relating to anime or comics.
I have 3 saved up, but the problem is 2 of them are good AMVs that people forgot about, and I feel like I got to really save those for like bottom of the barrel. And the third one, I just want to save. So, a while ago, I think I talked about this. I didn't make it a thing of the day, but there's something about the lyrics to songs from the 80s and 90s.
They're really bad?
Yeah, like really good songs. But if you actually listen to the lyrics, they're like, it's not even that they're bad or asinine. They're terrible. Like, they're painful.
Yep.
But imagine if you took old songs like White Wedding or Take On Me and just change the lyrics, do the song exactly the same, but change the lyrics to just say literally what is going on in the associated music video to the song.
Oh my God. If you did that, what if you did that like Sledgehammer? You'd be like, bunch of shit moving around. Bunch of shit moving around. Oh, weird imagery. Playing with the special effects on the video machine. Playing with the special effects.
Of all these, pretty much the best one, because there's a guy doing a ton of this stuff. The best one is White Wedding. I found this so hilarious, it was painful. Because it's time for a cool glove, and that room is dangerous.
Cool glove.
Seriously, check this out.
Did you know that there is some sort of blue Mountain Dew now? There's an ad for it on the webpage that is my thing of the day.
Well, there's a Red Bull Cola.
It's like Mountain Dew Voltage. It's like a bright blue.
That can't be good.
It's kind of scary looking. Anyway.
Well, there's a Red Bull Cola.
The thing of the day, which just happens to be on this page with the Mountain Dew ad that's not blocked because it's like the background of the site. It's one of those.
I hate those.
Yeah. Anyway, so what this is I don't know. Do you remember a while back someone drew like the sort of the Watchmen Peanuts character mashup? Oh,
I know what you're using. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh, you saw this?
I saw this.
Somebody basically drew 2 pages of Sin City, but it's
I thought you were gonna do someone animated the Watchmen as though it were a 90s cartoon.
No, screw that. That was stupid. I didn't like that actually.
I liked it.
No, I thought it was dumb. Someone drew was basically 2 pages of Sim City. But it's Schultz City. That yellow shirted such and such.
Not bad. But tonight, surprisingly, we're actually talking about something relatively new, as in we only have 1 volume of it. So it's kind of a preview, it's as opposed to the usual review.
Well, it's
both new and it's old.
Yeah, because
that dichotomy there.
Because it's old. Well, it's old and it's old because it was only released here recently, even though it came out in Japan a while ago.
Yeah, but it's based on something.
It's based on something even older. So.
Old, incredibly old television show and manga.
We've also got an Emily here, but
yes.
It is Takashi. Oops, sorry, I was reading the co-authored line. Anyway, it's Pluto. Urasawa's Pluto, which is based on 2 episodes, well, a story arc from Astro Boy.
Right, I'm pretty sure it was a story arc in the original manga, and I'm pretty sure it was a story arc that was in the original 60s anime, and I definitely know that the story arc was, it's basically every time they make a new iteration of Astro Boy, right, the 80s anime, and I don't know about the 2004 anime, but they retold this story, right?
Wasn't there a blurb in the back of the manga about, like, written by the guy who's saying they were doing that series of episodes for the most recent Astro Boy television
Yeah, I
show
read something
when he was reading this manga?
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't read it.
Oh,
but
Scott,
that-
there's a long interview in the back.
Yeah, it's got a lot of stuff about the authors and, you know, notes by the translators and
Yeah, I
stuff.
didn't
Kind of
read
giving
that
some
part yet.
backstory. So the interesting thing about this is they have both seen these episodes, but I haven't watched the Astro Boy episodes that it makes reference to.
Yes, as
so
you recall,
we're kind of
Scott and
coming
I
at
are.
it from different angles here.
Well, I think that was sort of the point, is that, like, I saw those 2 episodes of Astro Boy, like, coincidentally, because we just happened to be watching the show, right? And it was like this 2-part story, so I knew it was a big deal. And so we watched those, and then coincidentally, Pluto just happened to show up, and I didn't even know. I knew Pluto was a retelling of some Astro Boy stuff, but I didn't realize it was that until I realized the robot's name was Pluto, because in the 80s, in the dub of the 80s anime, they call him Bluton or Bruton or something.
Bruton.
That
Bruton,
sucks.
like he's a brute. But I'm like, that must be Pluto. And then when the manga like happened to show up like a week later, I was like, oh shit.
But I don't know why they called him Bruton, because in the manga they're talking about, like, Pluto, god of death, and it makes so much more
Yeah,
sense.
well, the dub is very, very simplifying. I don't know if it was because the anime was much more simplified, or if the original, because, you know, I mean, this is the Naoki Urasawa interpretation is obviously a lot more complicated and deep than the original.
Well, the original.
For Tezuka, as great as he was, you know, Astro
Well,
Boy was not.
the
well,
thing
it's
is, if you
just
put out-
a sub-story, you
If you
know?
put out that much manga, not everything's a winner.
Well, no,
Well,
I mean,
Astro
I have
Boy's a
some bad
winner. What are you
Tezuka if you
talking
want.
about?
Yes, but they're like episodes of Astro Boy or story arcs of Astro Boy
but
come and go.
You
and they're
cannot blame that fan fiction Blackjack Everybody Shows Up Cross Universes episode on Tezuka.
I can
No.
blame that on
That-
Tezuka. And here's
No,
why.
I can't blame that.
Here's why.
He was alive.
No, I blame it on him because Princess Night never really ended. So that was the end. Someone had to do it.
Oh, that's like the worst ending ever, though.
It is. No, but actually, you know, I have read a lot of older Tezuka, like some of the stuff Dark Horse has put out, like Lost World, or even the Tezuka's Metropolis, right? Or Next World. Next World is pretty bad. It's not good. That they could have chosen a lot better Tezukas to bring over than Next World. All right. I mean, I guess it was an early work and it has historical significance, but you know, it's not. I mean, and Astro Boy, the original manga, like some of it's good, like the one with, you know, the X-shaped aliens with holding the lasers with the, you know, that one's good. But
Well, that's
some
like
of
the
them,
best episode of the 80s Astro Boy.
Oh yeah, but I mean, some of them not so good.
Well, you figure, especially prolific geniuses, they have really, really strong work, and some of their work in comparison is.
Well, I
is
think
a
with
little
Tezuka,
weaker.
it's mostly the early work is no good. You know, it's like he just happened to get published before he was God. It was like he was still demigod, but they started publishing. They didn't
Well,
wait.
you-
They
you-
didn't wait till it was hatched.
Then you should look at it. See, you have this thing where, like, you just want to do stuff perfectly right away, and this is like a perfect example of why that theory never works, because even Tezuka had to start somewhere. Like, he was obviously very talented even at the get-go, but you do see a maturation in any artist's work, and so you should look to him for guidance when you're all like, I want to make videos perfect right from the first day. So anyway, I really enjoyed the manga, even without the background information there.
Well, it definitely it had a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I had more impact because Scott knew what it was, and he gave it to me. He walks in, and he's like, "Rim, read this," and I'm like, "Okay," and I add it to my pile of things I've got to read. He's like, "No, read it." So I'm like, "All right." And I flip through it, and page 6, I see Mont Blanc, the word. I think, Mont Blanc. Yeah, that was that robot in that S word.
Oh, that was sad.
And then I read page 7. All right, there's a murder mystery. Page 8. Oh, Mont Blanc. Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of interesting because it's really the artist who draws it, the guy who did this adaptation, is the same guy who did Monster and Master Keaton.
But
and
did he
everything.
draw it? I mean, I know
Yeah.
he drew Monster. Did he?
It's obvious. Look at the style. The
Okay.
style's really, really.
'Cause
it's
isn't
like
there someone
Alex
else's
and I
name on
were
the cover,
talking.
though?
Takashi Nagasaki is the co-author, and there's also
co-author, but
Oh, okay.
Makoto Tezuka supervised.
Yeah.
okay, so it's kind of a collaboration.
Okay, so
I
no, but he did.
suppose,
Okay.
I assume that he was the primary creative force behind this.
I'm also pretty sure
retelling.
he is the primary creative
But,
force.
uh,
Plus, in the back, there's a
Alex-
little timeline. It's like 1928, Osamu Tezuka, the genius who would eventually become known as the god of manga, is born. 1951, Tezuka creates a narrative set in a futurist society about a boy robot whose machine body houses a soul.
You don't need to read the whole
You
thing.
sound
There's
like
only
so
three-
angry.
There's
like,
only
"Rah."
3 items in this timeline.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Children throughout Japan go wild over the story. 2003, Naoki Urasawa challenges himself to create the ultimate tribute to the god of manga.
You did trailer voice there. It was kind of silly.
I've only read 1 volume of it. How many volumes are there? Like, is it gonna be like 3 or 4 or something like
we
that?
did check at the Kinokuniya.
Considering the burn rate of characters, there can't be that many.
I think it's 7 volumes. It says right here. At least the 7 volumes. I guess in according to Wikipedia's.
Yeah,
So-
that seems about right.
But-
Man, it's so sad. And the interesting thing is there's a lot of like secondary references. Like there was the one where he makes the what was the robot who played piano's name?
Oh, yeah, the one with all the arms?
The guy
Yeah.
who composed the music.
North number
he
2.
Yeah, but he composed for the movie The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, which isn't that a Heinlein story? And I was like, dude, there was a lot of stuff like that. And the funny thing is, I know you're gonna like laugh at me for this,
Yeah.
but I couldn't help seeing Robbie's wife as like anything other than a really dark depiction of the maid from the Jetsons. Like I was like, because she's like,
Yeah, I
worked-
did actually.
think
I remember.
about
Yeah.
that. You know, she's like,
She
I worked
definitely
for this
reminded me of
family,
Rosie
and, you
the
know,
Robot.
there was a boy, and they adopted a dog before he was born, and one day the dog died, and the boy cried, and I was like, oh my god!
And the
it's
dog was her Astro.
I couldn't stop thinking about that. I would be like, that would be so horrible.
Well, actually, what got me the most was that because of, I guess, that robot's mechanical design, she always has this smile on her face. But because of the
Oh.
context, that it was really jarring. Like, it
It's-
really stood out,
but
and it made that scene 1,000 times sadder.
When you see her standing, it's like her face betrays no emotion, but her posture. And that scene where they're both standing, the detective comes to tell her husband's passed away. Her husband's also a robot, and he was a patrolman with the police force. And they're standing silently in the kitchen, and she's making him a pot of tea. And it's the way it's framed, and it also the way they're standing. You can just see the sadness, like no expression, no anything on her face, but you know, it's very sad. Very touching scene.
Now, sadly, I have I guess having watched the Astro Boy episodes, I don't know, this is really good, but at the same time, there's a little bit of, I keep thinking back and either laughing or having extra insights into it, because I guess most people in Japan who would read this already know the story of Pluto because they've seen Astro Boy. It'd be like watching it. Well, I guess Mickey Mouse didn't have some dark story arc, so we don't have anything to compare it to. But we watched the 80s Astro Boy, and it's pretty much, it's very simple. It's just a 2-parter where there's a robot named Bruton or Pluto, and he's a jerk, and he's gonna go around and kill all the strongest robots in the world because he's a jerk.
Well, it's mostly because he has to, his creator wants to prove that, Pluto is the strongest robot in the world. In order to do that, he has to go and destroy all the other strongest robots in the world, thereby, the name of this 2-part story is called The Greatest Robot on Earth.
And it starts with this long, opening bit where they're basically showing you all the best robots in the world. And it's like, number 1, Mont Blanc, he's awesome and helps kids. Number 2, Astro Boy. And it just goes through. And it's kind of like the Dune board game where they give you every one, and it's like, there's no way anyone could beat that robot. It's like the most powerful robot in the world.
Especially the wrestling robot.
Ah, the wrestling
The
robot.
wrestling robot is just so big and so powerful. It's like, well, there's no trouble with that one.
So Pluto or Bruton goes around murdering all of them. And the thing is, they gave him the most disdainful voice I have ever heard.
It's at least in the 80s dub. He's just like, it's like he's almost like
I don't want to fight you, Astro, but I have to because I'm going to be the strongest robot in the
Yeah.
world, and I was built this way, and what's it to you?
So he kind of scoffs at everybody. That's
Yes,
it.
he's just like, eh.
oh, whatever.
But it's weird because he doesn't come across, it's Astro Boy, right? So the guy isn't blatantly evil, like, I'm going to kill you all, right? He's just sort of like, this is what I have to do. Is a tragic villain. You sort of feel for him, even though he's doing all these terrible things, basically killing everybody.
There's actually
Yeah.
this really funny scene where he kidnaps Urain, and they're like together, and he's holding on to her, like, Astro, if you want her to be okay, you'll have to fight me. And Astro's like, I don't want to fight you. He's like, well, you're going to have to. And Urain, like, looks him in the eye, and he looks at her, and they're both like, eh.
I like Urain. She's pretty tough.
She's precocious.
But she gets really cranky. It's like Astro Boy is always really, sometimes he'll get angry and sometimes he'll get sad, but for the most part, he's a very well-behaved, like, he's very good. Whereas Urain is very naughty a lot. She'll misbehave.
Yeah, Urain isn't in the manga yet. I don't know if she will be.
Oh, I assume so, right?
Maybe. I don't know. She was in those 2 episodes, because
Yep. And her and Bruton formed this kind of slightly dislike relationship.
yeah, it was sort of weird in that way.
But the thing with the manga, like I said, I haven't had a chance to see like how the anime portrays Mount Blanc and like all that kind of
It
stuff.
barely portrays him at all.
I know, it's like it probably shows a picture. It's like he's really strong and tough and he works in the mountains of Switzerland.
That's pretty much it.
But here it's like when he dies, it's like a huge thing.
God.
Imagine if your national hero, like somebody who had saved people from avalanches and helped children and composed poems and just really part of your national identity, not just as an individual, but like as a greater than life, like Paul Bunyan hero kind of person, I guess.
And they really milk it.
Really,
milk it, so-
really make it into a
Well, 'cause I
an
think the
emotional
Not
scene.
only did he do all these things, but he also stopped the terrorists.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
the manga is pretty much all about milking it, right? He basically, Tezuka's original story, is a whole story in and of itself, and it's all right. But if you treat that as like a framework, right, and you just fill in all the blanks, just like flesh everything out as much as it can be fleshed out. If there was a character who was in there for like a minute, tell their whole story like they're a whole big deal, and then. If there's just like a fight, just like stretch that out, so much. And that's, I think, what Pluto does is he takes, this original, Tezuka story of Astro Boy and he stretches it all out and he moves the perspective from Astro Boy over to the detective. And you get like all these details filled in and he just pretty much... It seems so far, at least in volume 1, the story goes in the exact same direction. I don't know if he's gonna, he could change it up. I haven't read the later volumes. He might do something different if the ending or whatever.
Yeah, but there's just so much more here. I mean, the
So-
whole bit with Brow 1589.
I was gonna ask, do they have that Robo Hannibal Lecter in? That's what he is. He's scary.
totally
He's like,
Robot Hannibal Lecter.
Shall we exchange memory chips? And I killed a human once.
Yeah,
Would you like to know
the
what
robot-
was going through my mind?
The robot Hannibal Lecter is not in the 80s anime, at least. But the robot with all the arms definitely is in the 80s anime.
The
But you
one who
don't-
plays piano.
Yeah, you don't get
Yes.
anything about the
No,
piano.
it's
You pretty much
true.
just find out he gets killed.
Yeah, you find out he's like the servant of a rich old guy, and then he goes to fight with his crazy arms and such, and that's it. That's all you get.
But it's like it takes all these robots who are basically like cameos and just there for cannon fodder for Bruton or whatever they called him. You know?
Let's call him Pluto.
And we'll call him Pluto.
How about Pluto?
And they basically make them
I am what I am.
rounded characters with like a story of their own. Each robot has their own story and has their own, sad things and happy things.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you could do this sort of thing with like a lot of different, how many anime out there are just literally like, haha, you are, I am the robot that is red.
I'm the fifth strongest robot
You
on
know
Robot
what?
Island.
I've always wanted to do like a show where it's like a giant robot show, right? Where there's huge mega robots fighting each other, but it's not told from the perspective of the pilot. It's told from the perspective of a civilian during the war. And like, because there's like, you see these robots fighting with each other and they get thrown into an apartment building. I'm like, there are people in that apartment building. That's sitting on somebody's grandma there. This is
Well,
terrible.
Macross did that a lot, actually.
There are some, and actually Gundam does it a little bit, but the
Well, it
main
depends on the
characters,
Gundam.
the main characters still tend, it will give a human side to, well, like War in the Pocket.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to mention that one. Really, that was like gave it the most human parts.
God, that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite Gundams.
That's a real good
Yeah.
one. But like a G Gundam, right?
Well, G Gundam isn't. It
Right.
doesn't
There's no
count.
human
But
story in
imagine
G
like if you
Gundam.
took G
It's
Gundam.
not about the horror of war.
Right, but well, imagine though you could do the same thing Pluto does to this Astro Boy story and do it to G Gundam, right? You could like tell like the horrible story of like the pilot of the Windmill Gundam and like this whole. You can make up something, and fill in all those
He's
blanks
from the Netherlands.
and have they could have you really care about that Windmill Gundam pilot,
Yeah, well, the Wicked and stuff like that, that's essentially the same idea. It's like take an antagonist or take a side character and make the story about them instead. Just completely reverse the perspective on it.
Well, I mean, really, you have any shallow story, right? What a shallow story is no different from a deep story. They have, the same structure. It's just the deep story has a lot more flesh in between.
Well, you
it's
can
like
you can do the just the facts treatment. I mean, look at Pluto.
Yeah.
He takes just the facts, lays them out in a line, and then writes a whole story that just hits all the facts and doesn't mess with them.
Man, I like the big reveal in the beginning because you don't know in the beginning about the inspector, and then there's a reveal. And
the
you're like,
fact that he's a robot.
yeah,
Yeah, actually,
but-
that was even more powerful having seen the anime because it's like I'm just reading and I think this guy's just a detective. And then, as soon as you find out that he's a robot and he's made of a special alloy, having seen the anime, I'm like, oh shit,
it's that guy.
that he's not just some detective.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the way they reveal he's a robot actually surprised me because I wasn't expecting it to go down like that. I was like, what? But it's kind of neat. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Would you talk about how they portray Astro Boy for
Oh,
like 2
Well, he's
seconds?
only on the last page.
Well, this is definitely the Urasawa touch because
Yeah.
you build up, and everyone reading this would know like this is an Astro Boy story, and of course that means that you know things about the main character and like
Yeah.
how this is going to go already.
Well, I
but
mean, I was
the whole time
wondering
you're
if Astro
thinking,
Boy
like,
was even going to appear. Like, would he even be in the manga actually, or would it be just one of those things where, like, he's off in the distance? Because Pluto was in it, but he was always off in the distance. You never saw him. You only,
Yeah,
he was like a force of nature
but
as opposed to a character.
Anyone in Japan, anyone who knows the story reading this is thinking, where's Astro Boy? Where's Astro Boy? Where's Astro Boy? And the fact that he reveals Astro Boy, Astro Boy at the end.
Well, it's just the volume 1. I think they could have chosen any number of chapters
Yes,
for
but
the first volume.
that unit still ends. I'm pretty sure that unit ends with Astro Boy. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, but I mean, imagine if you were reading this serialized in big shonen, whatever it was,
Yep.
right?
So one of those big shonen
And you just
things.
you get it 1 week, you read it. You get it another week, you read it. Maybe it's a monthly, I don't know. And then suddenly one of the months on the final page, it's like Astro Boy.
That would be pretty
It's
sweet.
like, aren't you Adam? Yeah, the end.
One thing I've noticed though, I've been reading. I'm reading 2 Urasawas at the same time.
Which other one?
Well, I'm actually reading Monster.
Yeah.
It's
Is it better than the anime? Because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you liked the anime, but you were a little bit like, I don't know, you kind of
I felt
soured
like
on it after a
I
while.
felt like the anime had some pacing issues, and the manga does not seem to have them. But
Yeah.
it's weird. But he draws women's eyes the same way, and all of his women look vaguely evil.
Yeah, the way they
or tired.
sorta-
They're either evil or tired. There's no middle ground.
Yeah,
Really?
you're right. I see exactly what you're saying. It seems like all the old ladies are always tired, and all the sort of younger ladies are always like evil because their eyes are sort of like pointed.
Slanted a little bit.
Yeah, it's like they got points on one side, but they're sort of round on the other side.
And their
and
mouths
they're
are
always
also
at an angle.
pointed, so everything's
Yeah,
kind
they
of,
have like these triangle mouths. They're like, oh.
That's weird because I totally didn't see that. I'll have to look at it again.
Yeah, well, look at
I'll
this.
show
and
it
then-
to you after
And
the
the
show.
men have really big noses. Like I was
Oh, yeah.
describing this to Alex as we were walking home from work, and I was like, "Yeah, Scott lent me this really cool comic," and I was describing the idea to him, and he said, "Okay, who's the artist again? And I said, oh, the guy who did Master Keaton, really big noses. He's like, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Master Keaton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all over the world, and
it's weird because his style isn't a very sort of stereotypical anime style.
no, I like it a lot.
But it's much more closer to the Sanctuary kind of style. Not
Well, he does
not
faces.
quite.
There'll be these iconic shots throughout of really good faces, and every character has a very distinct face.
He's
you know
also,
what? It's also nice to see a manga I've got to critique. Not every shoujo manga, but a lot of shoujo manga just have generic old man and generic old lady.
Yep,
and
this has-
anybody, and also generic teenagers. But since they're focused on the teenagers, at least there's a little more variation. The work of this artist is really nice because he draws caricatures, and it's kind of something that is a mark of a good artist when he's got, you can recognize the different people by their faces.
Yeah, he always, that's the thing. He has lots of different hairstyles, lots of different body types,
But
lots
the
of different
nose and the facial features and the eyes and stuff like that.
But yeah, all you always recognize someone when they reappear because in Monster there's a lot of characters that come and go and people are dying and entering the story, right? But it's you'll see someone and you'll see them again a couple chapters later on a couple pages, but you'll know who they are. You've seen them before. And that helps out the storytelling a lot because if it was more poorly drawn and it was harder to tell the characters apart, right? There are scenes in Monster, right, where it's they'll introduce a character and they'll introduce them as a bad guy, right? And then later, that bad guy will be pretending to be a good guy somewhere. And all he'll do is have a panel of that person opening a door, and it's you'll see their face, and it's oh shit, it's that guy.
Oh, stabs.
And that wouldn't work if you couldn't tell it was that guy.
Yeah.
So it helps out a lot to be able to draw that well. You couldn't. XKCD couldn't tell that story.
No.
Yeah.
XKCD would need a narration or a bubble saying, I am that guy, or something, Stan Lee
Remember that that it was a pretty good comic, but it suffered from that problem, was that spy comic.
Oh, yeah.
I
yeah.
had such trouble telling the different people apart. And it's it really was important to the narrative, who's doing what. But then the art would make you very confused on that point. So, well,
But yeah, what do you think? Would you want to read all the manga and then see what the original story was, or do you want to see the original story?
The thing is, because we're talking about it, the way we talk about it, I think if you're smart, it's pretty obvious how this is gonna end.
Yeah.
Pretty much straight up.
I was just really interested in what they're, because my enjoyment of it was incredible. Usually when you see something and then you see an adaptation of it, obviously your experience of the adaptation is colored by what you experienced with the original, or whatever order you happen to consume them in. That's why people are asking oh, I've never read Watchmen, should I watch the movie first? Or I've never read Akira, should I watch it first?
It's different in this case because it's not a straight up adaptation. It's like Wicked, or those books where he is not telling the direct story. He's making a new story with references to the old story.
And in this case, especially because it's something that, Astro Boy was so iconic and so loved and so known that I feel in the end, you should probably watch the 80s Astro Boy take, or just enough to know what the story already is before you read it, because I feel the majority of people who have read this, up until the American release at least, would have already known how it was going to end and already knew the story, remembered it from their childhood, and now are reading it going, oh, I remember Mont Blanc.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. I think I'll probably watch the episodes before I read anymore.
It's on Netflix on demand.
Still, I didn't watch, and I still thought it was a damn good comic. Very, very good.
While it's not a straight up adaptation, though, the knowledge of what happened in the original story heavily colored my enjoyment of it. So I was unsure if I would have, because a lot of the thrills came the moment where I knew the detective was a robot and remembered him from the anime was huge. And it's if I hadn't remembered him from the anime, would it have been as huge? And I was
because there were the two
questioning
revelations. There was it's that guy. Oh.
Yeah. So it was tough.
I think pretty much we can safely say this is one of those, if you're a manga fan or an anime fan, just buy it. Like, don't even worry about it. You'll like it.
You gotta buy this stuff. I mean, come on. If there's gonna be a manga you're gonna buy, it's gonna be this, and I guess 20th Century Boys just started coming out.
Yeah, I have yet to read that. Scott lent it to me, but I haven't gotten around
Scott's
to it.
talking it up. A lot of people are
Still
talking it
beating
up.
Chrono Trigger.
Well, I mean, Urasawa, right? He did this, so 20th Century Boys is as good or better. So I mean, what are you gonna?
I remember like 6 years ago going into Kinokuniya and seeing that there, and I was like, I had no idea what it was about. I was like, is it historical? Is it science fiction? Is it this? You know, and I
didn't really know what it was
and
either until I read it.
I wanted to buy it really badly, and so like now, almost a decade after, I'm
Plus, the horns.
Oh yeah, you don't know. That's right. The horns have not appeared in Pluto at all.
Well, they're referenced constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
on
it's
the
like a
cover.
big clue.
He sticks horns in that guy's head. He leaves
Yep.
horns on Mont Blanc's head, but
But the horns are big in the anime, real big.
Do you think he's gonna be like crazier because the way he killed them was kind of
Well, yeah, you're right.
crazy?
They are
you know,
sort
it
of
was more like a serial killer
Yeah.
than like, oh well, it's my duty, gotta go beat this guy.
of course, I
kinda
wonder
thing.
more importantly if the volcano is going to erupt.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't see. The thing is, I don't know if it will go that far. Will the manga end before that point, or will it keep going? You know?
Yeah, this manga could end before Pluto gets beaten.
Yeah, because I mean, it's sort of, this is not a spoiler. I mean, it's an Astro Boy story, right? In the original Astro Boy story, the finale, of course, is Astro Boy fighting Pluto. Like to the end, right? So I wonder if the manga will go all that way and show you this Astro Boy fight, or if it's gonna end sometime before or after that, even. How far is he gonna take it? Is he gonna do a prologue? Is he gonna cut it short? It's up in the air, and I'm gonna be interested. With 7 volumes, he's got to go somewhere because he's already through like 2 of the 7 strongest robots in the world in volume 1. So
I'll definitely be reading all of it.
Yeah, me too.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.